So one thing I noticed when I came to tighten the bolts in with some Loctite for the last time is these are not sitting into the recess, so the bolt head is just a little bit too wide. So I've just run the Dremel with the sanding disc all the way around the outside to make them sit flush like that one. So just check yours. So yeah, just run this round here, and now that fits nice. So finishing touches, these bolts are all Loctited in, and then I've just run some white paint down the edge of these grooves so when it's shut it looks a little bit nicer, and touched in the white heads on the screws. So that's it, it's done. So I just started work on the wiring on the fuselage. This is the elevators, so we've got a 3D printed mount that holds the what connectors are these?
MR30s.
The MR30s, yeah, the MR30 connectors. And then got an MR30 for the rudder as well. So the rudder is a little bit awkward, trying not to lose it but also give space to put the cable. So we've got a 3D printed like little bucket that goes inside there. So that will pull back, screw in there, and then we've got space to coil up the wire. We'll pull that back and make it a little bit shorter, but it's got space to actually hide down in there when the fin goes on. So that's good. Inner gear door number 2. So this one didn't fit quite so well. So when I laid this in here, we had a bit of a raised portion here. So a hot air gun, I'll just warm the back of this. Warm the front slightly, but warm the back mainly, and it did go a little soft, and I was able to bend it and just put a slight radius on here which follows the fuselage, and that now fits really nice. So yeah, just go easy on the heat, and it will go a little bit soft and a bit more pliable, and you can just tweak them. So this is where it starts. If you look very carefully, you can just see those 2 holes. I'll put a little white dot over the holes so you can see them. They are pre-drilled. That's where the inner door hinges go. And then you need to relieve the plywood above them. So there's 2 skins of ply here. You need to relieve the inner skin to allow the hinge to move further up. Okay, so now you can see the 2 relief cuts on the plywood section. I just used a Dremel with a 3mm cutter. So on the hinges, roughen up the small foot. The larger foot is the one that screws to the fuselage, and the small one gets glued to the door and then later screwed as well. So that's just been roughened up with some coarse emery paper. So with the hinges mounted, put that in line with the door aperture, and then mark with a pencil where the hinges are. Then you need to relieve the top skin of this hatch. So that's the reliefs. So you know it's the right thickness when you get through the plastic and into the wood. So the bracket's added to the door. Note that it's got a nylock nut on one side and then a plain nut on the inner, and just check the bolt doesn't too long and it sticks through. So I've just cut that bolt down a little bit because it was sticking through, and it can catch the other side. So just checking that the other side of the linkage fits nicely, and it does. So epoxy and microballoons mixed up and put on the 2 hinges, and then simply raise the hinges slightly and then drop the door on and tape the door in place. So that's the door taped in place. Leave quite a large gap at the back edge, because when it opens up, that controls how vertical these can get, and they do need to come quite a long way up to about sort of 75-80 degrees to clear the undercarriage wheel. So I do leave about a 3mm gap, 1/8 of an inch on the back edge, and this edge basically becomes flush or just very slightly in from flush to miss the gear door that's on the wing half. So while that's drying, a couple of other things we've done. So the lights, these are the uni lights. There is a stringer that runs straight the way down the centre, so it means that this light can't actually go on the centre line. That was kind of frustrating me a little bit. I was going to cut the stringer out and put 2 separate stringers in between. Ultimately, I kind of decided that it wasn't that important being on the bottom. So what I've actually done is put the light in as close to centre as I could get, which is still quite a way off centre. And then actually put the lens on more on the centre line, so you can actually see that the light is offset to the centre of the bezel. But that's kind of enough to lose it now, and when it's flashing you can't even see it, it's that bright, it just loses where the light's coming from. So it fills the whole lens up pretty well with the light, so you don't notice that the light itself is offset. So not ideal, but it's a small price to pay for rather than cutting out stringers. Nose light. So the nose light is on. That's also a uni light. So what comes in the kit is a bezel and a lens. I think it's designed to take an LED, but it doesn't work with the uni light setup. So the uni light is a whole tube with a heat sink on the back of it, and you can basically just cut the covering and push the uni light in, but it's actually a loose fit. So considering the uni lights are supposed to be matched for this plane, it would be nice if they supplied the right size so it goes straight into the hole, but that can easily be accommodated. This front ring is the ring off the bezel that's in the kit, and all I've done is epoxied that round the uni light setup, and then the whole thing pushes in nice and tight. There's a little bit of glue on there so it's not coming loose, but that's all in, so that looks pretty good. And then the upper light is also fitted to the top deck, so you can see that there. So that's pretty straightforward, there's no stringer in there, so you can drop that straight in. You do have to cut away the inner thickness of skin, so there is a double wall skin on this construction. So you've got the outer balsa, and then you've got an inner sort of foam core, so you just have to cut the foam core away to make sure that the thickness isn't too thick for the lights to protrude through. This is the alternative door linkage that I've used. So this is 63mm long, which worked for the other side. Servo's prepped, so you do use the grommets on this one. I'm using a 10 kilo McGregor servo for the door gears, or the gear doors rather. So we'll get that screwed in. So to finish off the inner gear door, the screws here, you have to drill those back through from this side and then put the 2mm screws in. Servo's fitted, so the servo is fitted in the rearmost of the 2 holes, the 2 cutouts, and the servo horn points towards the wing tube. And this is the shortened arm, which seems to work pretty well. So they do say in the instructions, which is bang on, the guideline is that with this horn horizontal, the door should be at 45 degrees to the bottom of the fuselage. So this achieves that, but I couldn't get anywhere near that with the longer linkage that was specified in the instructions, so you'll probably need to shorten that, but no big deal. So that all works pretty well now. So bolt in there, Just need to go around and check everything's tight, and then I'll paint them down, and that's the inner gear doors finished. And that's the relief cut, which allows the wheel to go in and out now. So now you can slide the wing straight on without having to open the retract doors or open up the retracts. So the door hinges have all had a bit of a rework just to make them nice and free. So these are all nice and free now. So just taking the screw out, and then taking just a shave off the inside edge of here, and put a little bit of silicone spray on them, tighten them back up. That makes them nice and free. So they're quite stiff as they come out the packet, so that'll give them an easier time. And then I'm just looking at this contraption, which is the gear door actuator. So photo and the instructions are a little bit fuzzy, but you basically set these up with the two outer horns in the same plane, so you can just hold those on the desk and just tighten the two grub screws up. And then there's another one which I think is 90 degrees to that, and just going to offer that up into the fuselage to get the spacing right. So we've got a slight issue here that the mountings for the gear door linkage is just a fraction out on the holes, so the holes don't quite line up with the inserts. It's got captive nuts on the bottom of the fuselage and they don't quite line up, so I'm just going to slot the mounts just a little bit. So that fits nicely now. So it's got the two arms on that side, the one on that side. So when they're both pointing vertically upwards, the other one should be pointing forwards 90 degrees to this arm. So they actually start at that position there, so they're both pointing forwards towards the nose of the plane, and then the other one is vertically down. So we'll work that out and add the linkages. So this is the door linkage all assembled, with the two shorter rods going up towards the doors, the long one going back to the servo. So you can see how that's all set up. It's got the different ball end at this end for the servo. And then you can see there that that one is at 90 degrees to the other two. And that's linkage in. So just took a little bit of juggling on the two side brackets just to get it nice and free. A little spot of oil on the shaft as I assembled it. All the grub screws are all Loctited, and that looks pretty good. So time to fit the hinges. The edge of the hinge here has been relieved slightly on this side. That just clears the side of the fuselage, and then we're going to fit those by screwing them in. So screwing them in on this side with the self-tapping screws, and if you look on the fuselage then you can just see the two mounting holes. So you see them in there, so I can get a better picture of it, better image. Yep, you can just about see the two self-tapper holes there. Okay, so now you can see better the place where the hinges go and the holes that are drilled already in there. Okay, so that's the 3 hinges in. A little bit tedious, quite awkward to get to the screws. I managed to find a 90-degree screwdriver, which just about went into there. So yeah, it's a little bit, just a little bit tricky to get at those screws and get them in there tight. So follow the instructions, a little bit of super glue just in the bit of cyano in the holes. Let that cure and then put the screws in. So now you can see why there is a need to relieve the hinges slightly. So remove a little bit off the back of this foot so it clears the corner of the fuselage, and then also a little bit out the profile around that radius there, and that just clears nicely. Just need to clean that up a little bit with a knife, but that's the same on them all. So that's the 6 hinges in. That took far longer than you would expect. So with the rear door taped in place and the front doors taped together, it's time to glue them to the hinges. So mix up some epoxy and microballoons, put some dabs of that on there, and then that will sit on top and get taped in place while the epoxy sets. Okay, so after much fiddling, the gear doors are in. A little bit of relief down the side of here just to get it nice. Same on the other side, and give the link a push, and there you go.